how sweet it is to be loved by you nerds. What is up? It's me, buddy pal HeyArcher. Welcome back to HeyArcher Live here on Thursday night, nerd affiliated. I lost my chain of thought. It must have been the yelling, but it's all right. We come back on track. Welcome back to the show, everybody, for another fun, thrilling, exciting episode, HeyArcher Live, with one of my favorite guests to have on. Lenny from For Those Good Tastes is in the house. Links down below, of course, for Those Good Tastes. You have time now to subscribe. Like, as you're waiting for me to go through my rant, you have plenty of time. Also, if you have a YouTube channel, a podcast, a blog, a vlog, an OnlyFans, smoke signals, a newspaper article, I feel like I said something twice. It's all right. Put it in the chat. Support one another. Plug yo shit. As per usual, if you're a regular here, we're gonna pour ourselves a little beverage, shoot the shit, talk. I mean, when it comes to movies, Lenny's the guy. When it comes to is a movie successful, Lenny's the guy. So I'm definitely gonna pick his brain on that. We're gonna talk wrestling. Sorry, I know Lenny's sometimes in, he's sometimes out. I'm gonna have to bring up wrestling at some point. And he's into this show, Outer Banks or something. He's probably gonna talk about that. Apparently I'm supposed to watch it. I still haven't watched it yet, but you guys can let me know if I'm supposed to watch it. Lots of fun stuff. So of course, if you guys have a show you want to talk about, topic you want to talk about, by all means, put it down in the comments. If you want to support the channel, of course, thumbs up, subscribe, always do the trick. If you want to go that extra mile, you can join. Actually, it's not visible now, but pretty soon you will see. You can join the Nerd Foundation and help keep the channel on the tracks, or even drop a super chat, whatever you feel like. But as I say every week, without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Lenny, For Those with Good Taste in the house. Sir, how you doing today?
Everybody. Just so everybody knows, the only thing I don't have that Steve listed off is the newspaper article. You can find me everywhere else.
Everywhere else, there you go.
Yes.
You guys can do the math on that one. And before we continue, hopefully by now you've poured yourself just...
No free ads. Sorry.
There you go. A little bit of...
More specifically, vodka, whiskey, beer, tequila, more beer, more vodka, more whiskey, and more beer.
Exactly. No free ads. We don't do that here.
Zero.
Although, I'm going to give one free ad. As mentioned in the comments, General Kenobi is going live at 9 p.m. Eastern. So once our show's done, you can roll right into the General's show. Sal, if you're around, you could drop a link to General Kenobi's channel in the comments. That'd be great. I'm putting Sal to work while he's recovering from heart surgery. Like, dude, you got all the time in the world. I don't know what you're talking about.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Not at all. Not
at all. Yeah, I don't know what his problem is. Dude, how you been? It's been a while.
No complaints, man. You hit every topic for me that I could want to talk about on this. So yeah.
I didn't mention toy collecting though.
No, and I am gonna be honest and transparent. I have not committed to that the way that I would like to. You know that, Steve, that game is tough. Like, you gotta have excess funds for that, and I just do not.
It's true. Because there was one, actually, I'll see if I can pull it up here. There was one figure that you were eyeballing for a while. It finally came out, and you did not go for it.
I don't know if it didn't live up to the hype. Like you sent it to me the second time, and I don't know if it was. I don't think I liked the facial expressions on it.
Which one was it? Was it the one with the ponytail now? Is it this one?
Yeah, and I think the reason I liked it initially is because they put that out right before, I think he faced him at like SummerSlam or something. Mm-hmm. And I think they put that out and it was like, hey, is this the tell that he's going to win the belt tomorrow? So maybe they caught me with a little clickbait.
Mm-hmm. But what was it, like this head sculpt you didn't like, or just the head sculpt in general?
Yeah, I don't. Maybe it's just him smiling. Like, I don't know. It's an uncomfortable look.
What if he came with overalls?
Fantastic. That'd be very funny if they gave me the one with the tractor.
Mm.
Like if they had the SummerSlam edition that came with the tractor, I'd be into it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel you on that. Before we even proceed on, we're just rambling along as we do every week. Why don't you tell the nerds out there what you guys got going on over at For Those Good Taste?
Yeah, I want to say we've made our return to consistent podcasting again. We were
Hey.
we were here and there for a few months, but we are back. We are releasing a couple different things, but our big project we've been working on, as you see there, is Beyond the Banks, where we are going through the Netflix hit that hit the airwaves during the pandemic and kind of took the world by storm at that point. Season 3 literally dropped today out there, so trying to kind of ride that wave a little bit, so to speak. Get the episodes out as we go here, but we also have like our weekly stuff that we're going to be working on. I'm going to have a podcast coming out tomorrow with The Last of Us, AntMan, some different stuff too.
Nice. I love that. So I mean, I've mentioned it on Nerdy Coffee Mondays, 9 a.m. Eastern, and you were in the chat a couple times. But when it comes to box office, I'm like, you're the guy. Like, you're the guy who, if I'm like, hey, is this actually a success or not, you could definitely gauge that. You have a better memory than I do. So even with Ant-Man coming out this week and it cracking 100 million or whatever, would you say it was actually a successful launch, or is it just successful relative to everything else?
I honestly didn't read how much that movie cost to make. I don't know if you happen to know. I looking at the world they built there, I have to imagine it wasn't cheap, and they probably have some way to go to make money. I think Steve, I'll tell you, I did a really, really good job of avoiding trailers, and I haven't seen anything for any movies coming out in the near future either. I've like avoided all of it. You know what happened to me when I saw Ant-Man last week?
Oh, you
the
saw
last trailer, yeah, I did see it. Yeah, so the last trailer they played before Ant-Man came on was a trailer for Ant-Man.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Like they no bullshit played a trailer for Ant-Man before Ant-Man. It was the last thing I saw. I'd gone the whole time without seeing it, and then the movie spoiled it.
That has got to be the biggest bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, man, it made no. And I swear to God, I walked in for the last trailer. Like the only trailer I saw was the movie I was seeing. How crazy is that?
I've never heard of that in my life, but I don't doubt it.
And I am a regular movie goer still to this day. And for that to happen, like I've never had that happen. It's crazy. I've had movies not make it past like the intro credits before. I've had like random things, the fire alarms, whatever. But this, I've never had that happen before.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just, I was going to say, looking at the world they built there, Steve, this is going to offend you possibly in some ways. I left it feeling as though like I made the joke to the people I was with that they did Star Wars for me better than Star Wars does. Like in terms of like a world with like interesting characters and like, unique like visuals and things. I thought it was fun in that regard. And it didn't look cheap though.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I wasn't sure if this was a bot or not. So just welcome to the chat, Skeletor.
Hey, dude, I like him too.
Yeah.
What's up, dude?
Somebody else had said that. They had it like as a meme or something where they're like, oh man, like this seemed very much like Star Wars in the way that the world operated. I don't want to go into more of what I think they meant because I still haven't seen it, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't. But they were like, it had that vibe to it. But I'm like, it's a long movie of just a lot of heavy CGI, it seems like. And it seemed like Ant-Man was the weakest part of it.
The other thing I was going to bring up that you had kind of pointed out, there's a million trailers that I feel like came out prior to this movie. And, that airtime, like all that stuff's not cheap. I'm sure they had an ad at the Super Bowl. And I think that stuff was like, I think it was like 25 mil for like a 1 minute spot or something. I don't know. It's probably excessive, but it's not cheap. Right. So, it's a Marvel movie. It's going to make its money. I don't know how wildly successful it'll be, but it'll certainly make its money.
Yeah. Especially over time.
Has it been hurt though by it not coming out in its correct order? Do you think that hurt it?
No, I mean, here's the thing too. Like one of the running jokes that we have is that I still go to Braintree here in Massachusetts, which
Mhm.
like sucks by all,
That's
measure.
trash.
Yeah. I still go there because I'm just lazy. It's the closest theater to me. And the problem I have, or not the problem I have, but something I noticed was I was like, oh, they're only showing it in like 2 theaters in that entire place. They're not doing the usual Marvel. It's in 10 screens all at once. So I think even going into it, they were like, this is not going to be that movie. I think superhero fatigue is real. I think superhero fatigue, especially out of Marvel, I think it's very real right now.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a whole list of concerns I have probably with that exact topic. I do think that the tough thing for this movie is going to be is I think competitively, March is going to be the hardest March we've had for movies in a long time. I think every week you basically have something coming out. You have Cocaine Bear this week. I think that might do okay.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Next week, Creed 3 rather,
Yeah,
is probably going to unseat. Do you think that? I think that'll probably beat Ant-Man,
Ant-Man for sure. I mean, it was
right?
a 3-day weekend, so that's the only reason it probably did what it did.
Yeah, so you're gonna have that eat away at its returns in 2 weeks, so that's already
Hmm.
killing a Marvel, launch in itself. And then this isn't gonna eat a lot, and it's a counter market. But like, I'm super pumped for Scream coming out. And
Hmm.
last year when that came out, it overperformed what it was supposed to, and that's why you're getting another one so quickly as it is. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird. I don't know what it is this year where we're getting like it seems like movie companies are like March is the time to release.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're kind of hoping for a couple things. Like various spring and winter breaks are happening with kids. What you're hoping that weather is probably going to force people to go to the theaters because they don't want to do anything else. You're also coming off the hangover of holiday, so even though theaters are a little, more pricey than they used to be, it's still cheaper than probably a lot of other things. And if you are coming off of a break, you just took your kids to like Disney World or something. I'm not doing another, you know, big adventure in the next coming weekends. I'm probably going to theaters. And to me, that's the only thing that holds the theaters up at this point. Because otherwise, I'm like, ain't nobody I know outside of you being a movie fan and somebody else I know who also has that pass that goes to the theater on a regular basis.
The Thursday showing was actually pretty full, and I started at 4 p.m. I didn't see like
Mm,
they had it in, usually they, at least in the theater I see it. I see the Dolby version. They
yeah.
normally on new release nights have like a 6 p.m. and then like a 9 p.m. They had a 4, a 7, and like a 9 or something like that
Mm,
at this one. So they was busy enough to add a showing in. So I guess that's something to it.
yeah.
Um, what do you think though? Like with what do you think of the change of the movie ticket prices? Do you think that's a dumb change?
Yeah, for 1,000%. I mean, there's there's got to be better ways to increase the revenue happening in theaters, but there's also got to be a better way to get people back in theaters in general. And doing the sightlines seating pricing, for one, it doesn't affect me. I don't think it affects you either because we're normally like sit in the back type of guys anyway. But I'm like, you really think that extra dollar is gonna over time boost your revenue like some crazy amount? They're already raising prices on certain releases. Like they already started that, I think last year or the year before. So, I'm like, I don't think this does anything for you. To the point of one of my coworkers who used to work in theaters, he's like, you got to do, you have to go back to like something basic like events, like make the theaters a place that you and your friends want to go to for something outside of even a movie, like
Mhm.
the UFC fights. Like they kind of do that on and off, but now with how expensive they're getting, maybe if you start serving food or drinks in all your theaters, maybe you'll get more people there. Something I think fondly of back in the day. I think Josh went with me actually, who was in the chat. The Big Four: Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth. That concert they did a in theater airing when it like around the world at the same time. I thought it was live. It turns out after the fact that they had already recorded it, but they showed it and it was a blast. I thought the volume could have been louder, but we all we filled up some flasks, pre-gamed, and then went to the theater to watch a concert, and it was a great time. So I think they'd have to do something like that to get us back in.
I think that's probably a really interesting idea to go with. I think live concerts, because it is, I was going to say, there's not, they tried reinventing the wheel with like 4D movies, and I
Right.
can personally say I've never actually gone to one.
Mm.
I grew up locally here. I don't think anybody else really has this, but Jordan's Furniture used to have the mom ride.
Right.
And I grew up on like going on that. I don't have any interest in doing it for 2.5 hours.
Mm.
I actually went in Myrtle Beach to one of those rides like a few years ago, and I wanted to die after like 3 minutes. I was motion sick. I don't know if I'm like too old or what it was. And you're like trapped. You can't get out of it. So
Yeah.
I'm good. Like I don't really want to go through that. I don't want them spraying mists and smells at me while I'm
Right.
watching movies.
Right.
But I do think what you're saying there, and what did I just say, man? Like a differentiator for me with going to the movies now is I go to the Dolby Cinema, and
Right.
you're right. Like that's the one untapped thing that I don't think people really appreciate as a person who has to talk about
Right.
TVs and audio systems so much, right? Like sound is the craziest part of what you can do with anything. Like I don't think people really know what it sounds like all the time to listen to music on like amazing speakers, and that would be something to kind of change the experience. You're right.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, for all you content creators in the chat, what is this something that you see in all the 101 videos? Sound is the most important part of a
Yeah.
video. So I could definitely understand the point. It's just, I think we're at a point where they're not going to retrofit theaters for like all of them to have Dolby Sound or all of them to have like IMAX quality or whatever. So that's where I think theaters are going to have to fall off and really like, you have a couple of them per whatever square mileage. You're going there for the big events. You're going there for something epic, another, Marvel movie or something, The Flash, and that's it. Other than that, I mean,
If they were to shut down like if AMC was to shut down the Braintree Theater, which is 10 minutes from us, and say, hey, we're going to invest resources into the movie theater that's 30 minutes away, and like completely overhaul that experience, would
mm,
that be enough to get you to go?
no, it
No.
wouldn't. But
I
at
think that's
least
the
I
problem,
know.
right?
At least I
Like,
know if I go, my house experience won't even match what's happening there. Like that's the part. That's where I'm up to now. Like you've got to somehow beat me on convenience, on getting food, drink, bathroom. Like you have to blow me out of the water with the sound and visuals so much it offsets me saying I'll wait till it's on home release.
well, and I think that's the issue. And it's like all these people who buy up AMC stock and things like that. It's obviously like the short sell and
Yeah,
all that. But
yeah,
because the issue is the people who are going to the movies like myself are always going to go. We weren't going to stop going. Like
right.
that's not changing anytime soon. But I don't think that there's anything that they can do at this point to truly seize back the lost viewer in the movie
Mm-hmm.
theater like yourself. I just don't think that even if they did the music thing to your point, like I don't think you're going to go back on a weekly basis. I think if they find big enough artists that can produce that kind of content, you might go every once in a while, but that's not going to tangibly save the movie industry.
No,
I saw, did you see that weird like Spielberg, Tom Cruise thing
no.
where
What
he
was
was
it?
saying, they had like this weird embrace where Spielberg basically told him that Maverick saved the movie industry.
Oh, I
And
mean, I don't doubt that at all.
I mean, I think I don't know if it saved it because I think Marvel and everything else has been making just as much money. I think for Steven Spielberg, though, who's had nothing that's made any money for
Mm,
quite some time, it seemed like it saved him to be able to keep putting out movies that he loves that nobody else wants to see. Like
yeah.
I just thought it was like kind of weird. And I'm a huge Tom Cruise guy, but I just don't know that like Maverick making a ton of money saved the movie industry.
Well,
Especially when I brought this up to somebody and they were like, Avatar 2 did how much money,
here's the thing. I think it maybe prolonged is more of a proper word than saved. However, it did reignite that excitement in me to say, "Oh, okay, there are certain things I must see in theaters." Like right now, the only reason I'd see the AntMan is because I know at some point Anthony and Sal are going to see it. I'm gonna have to edit the review, so I rather experience the spoilers and stuff in person firsthand than through them. However, that doesn't work for me on everything else. Like I still have not seen Ghostbusters Afterlife. I feel like I've seen it because I've edited Anthony's review, but other than that, like any other movie outside of like maybe there's a cliffhanger that I need to know about or Marvel related, I'm just going to wait it out. But Maverick, no sequel implications, just a great movie. It's one of those that like, oh, because of how much he put into the filming, the real life effects, the real life sounds, all that stuff. I'm like, all right, there is still a purpose for the theaters, but not every movie's going to be that.
So you're probably right, and that is probably more what he means is that I do agree. I think he did save it in the sense of like practical effects, and I think my issue with that is to say that Maverick saved it. It's like no, Mission Impossible saved it like 15 years ago at this point, because it's not like that's a new thing for him to bring that and do the actual stunts himself. But I do think that is something that pulls you out of Marvel, or it at least has started to draw me out of Marvel. Is I really love Marvel when I have strong antagonists. Yeah. I hate these battles with a million people that I can't really care about, see. There's no stakes involved to it, and I think that's where it's like takes you out of the experience. I know you said this about The Last of Us on Monday, that like one of the things that got you really into that was the environment, right? And how like The Mandalorian is filmed on location but on a green screen, and that's just not the same thing anymore, you know. And I think we can all see the difference. You know, we talk about I Am Legend on the episode that's coming out tomorrow. When was the last time you saw the CGI in I Am Legend?
It's, from what I remember, I did a meme a couple months ago using it, and that's the last time I saw it, and I was like, oh, it doesn't seem to hold up as much.
I swear I thought it was good, but this just shows like where we are, you know. That was like 2005, and it looked good for that time period, you know, but now I think our eyes are too trained to it, and you've got to do something really special to get me to not catch it, you know.
No, and you could do like in Last of Us, they had people mixed in with CGI, so they were, and I said it on Nerdy Coffee, I'll say it now. I think part of my enjoyment with Last of Us is watching the post-credit director commentary.
I tell anybody who hasn't seen that, like, it changes your whole entire perspective on that show.
Yeah. Actually, I'm tempted to go back and watch the first two, because we started watching that at the third one, because we were so like blown away by that third episode.
It kept you past the credits.
We were just sitting there, and then that part rolls. They explain why they made the decisions they did. I still won't spoil anything, because I still think some of you haven't seen it. I don't know why. You should. But it's one of those where I was like, oh, that's right. They had this part in the game. Oh, they did change that thing. Oh, it does make sense that you changed it for this reason. Like, I like that they explain those parts of it, and it enhances.
If you haven't watched the first two, I think the very first one was the one that, like, I mean, and obviously we were already hooked to the show at that point, but them explaining the difference and how they wanted to choose the breakout to go, I thought was just
I did see that part,
super interesting, and to get the context on something like that, and it made so much sense. And to your point, like, I think it actually made the show better getting that context, you know. So
because they actually care about it too, like in hearing. Like, and this won't be a spoiler for anybody, like, it's the first episode, but the outbreak in the game, it's spores in the air, and like before they go into rooms, you see them like put a mask over or a bandana over their faces so they're not inhaling the spores and then get the fungus in them and all that stuff. In this one, it's an actual fungus that's in food, and that's what's transferring it around there. And I'm like, all right, that does make more sense, because, you know, first of all, mask on or off was already a hot topic for the last couple of years. But here it's like, you expect me to believe that not an M95 mask is going to protect from those spores getting up the bandana. Now that we know about masks since that game came out. So smart change. And they've done other ones too that are pretty smart.
Yeah, it's weird that nobody, I guess, like, because it's a video game, nobody really had a problem with those flaws like the first time you watched them, and it can be contained better. But like, I think that detail is an important one. And then the way they explain it, like spreading, and the way that it communicates things, I think just kind of changes the tension and some of the decisions they have to make later on in the show too. So I mean, that we could spend a whole hour on that show, I think, in itself. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Are you, you know, The Last of Us is obviously a great game. Are you familiar with Metal Gear Solid at all?
Only in knowing Solid Snake. I thought I knew stuff, and then I hear things, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't know anything about that.
That's like everything. Like
Yeah.
now, the internet.
Yeah.
The I love Metal Gear Solid. It was like the first video game I loved when I was a little kid. Like player games, like storyline games like that were like everything to me. And it's been the game I've been most clamoring for to get a movie or some type of live action from. And they're supposed to be doing it now with Oscar Isaacs, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
playing
Mm-hmm.
um, Solid
Solid
Snake.
Snake.
And I can't help but watch The Last of Us and say to myself that I wish it was going to be a TV series and not a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
because nobody gave a shit about video game like adaptations at all until the show. Because every time you got one, it was trash. And then now, when you see what they can do when they do care about the product, it's like, oh, all right, damn, like I'll give it a shot.
and we've all known like having a movie versus a TV show. It's like the TV show, I seeing what they can do with fleshing out characters, and when it's done well, and when you care about the property, I think anybody would choose the longevity of a TV show as opposed the short like I fear with a movie you're either going to make sequels and miss important parts because you're trying to the and build up to anticipation, or you're
Mm-hmm.
going to make it too short and you're going to miss parts, and it's never going to get that like feeling or payoff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not for sure. And that's like a blessing and a curse too, because now we have shows like The Bad Batch, where 2 seasons in now, we're gonna hit. We were talking about it in our group chat the other day. I think the show is like collectively 30 something episodes between the 2 seasons, and we've only had so far 6 really good episodes. And it's like, if that was just a movie, like a made for TV movie or a short series, maybe like 5 episodes, like total of the whole story, be great. But now that they know series do well, especially week to week versus an episode dump or season dump, they're like, oh, let's just take that and just stretch it. Like, let's keep people on our platform. We got to sell subscriptions. We need to have them on the platform for more than 2 months. And now it's just getting wild.
What that kind of reminds me of though, it's like we were going to talk about wrestling. It's like when AEW wasn't around for wrestling, right?
Right.
And Vince McMahon was free to do whatever the fuck he wanted, and there was no
Mm-hmm.
competition out there. Storylines were worse than ever. Like, people go back and watch like Raws from like 2012 or 2011 are like masochists. It's the worst programming on earth, and I think that Star Wars a lot of times is in a similar boat where they can make whatever the hell they want, and unfortunately, like, everybody's going to show up regardless, right? So like, they can put out 30 episodes of a show, and I don't think it really matters too much the quality as much as it matters that they're filling Disney Plus with content.
Yeah.
And until I don't know, and the difference here is that like wrestling could have competition. I don't think that there's ever going to be a competition to Star Wars or a competition to Disney. So I don't know what you can really do that's going to fix that property for you.
Well, maybe it is the streaming. Like, as they see subscribers come and go, like maybe that's what eventually they're like, hey, we're not like, if I'm Disney, if I'm Bob Iger and I'm full of myself, like they probably are, I'm like, why is, Disney Plus came out, maybe 4 years ago at this point, 5 years ago. Like, why are we still losing to Hulu that we bought? Like, why are we still losing to maybe Paramount Plus? I don't know if they actually are, but like, why is Paramount Plus like giving us a run for our money? Like, we're Disney. Like, that's where I should be like, all right, we need to change how we're doing these things. And again, maybe we change that theaters are the primary target. Like, maybe we scale back on cost, make a better story, a little less CGI or something, but it goes straight to Disney Plus 2-3 weeks.
I mean, what did Disney just said? They're going to minimize the launch of TV shows, right? They're going to reduce the TV show schedule. And I think that right there says to it in itself that Disney was, I think they just assumed by pumping these properties out that they were going to get names. And I see like Mandalorian, I'm sure, Steve, I don't know if I told you this. I tried watching again. I got through half of episode 1 and I turned it off again. I'm sorry. I keep trying. But I'm sure there's shows like that are going to do it, right? There's going to be a Marvel property that kind of pulls you back in. But I don't know that that's sustainable, like you're going to have monthly bumps. I saw a tweet today. I think it's from Calvin Gastelum, actually, that ESPN Plus is at 24 million subscribers, which that seems more than what I kind of thought, to be honest. Like, that's crazy that that many people are
But
spending
they're
money
all,
on that streaming
but
service.
they're bundled in. They're probably
Yeah,
like
they're all in
me.
the Hulu
They're in
and
that bundle.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get, like, aside from Disney Plus, are you on Hulu a lot? You probably are, because like you watch some of the TLC dramas, things like that, right?
The different.
Not dramas, but the like the 90 Day Fiancés.
So that's why I'm paying for Discovery Plus. I'm one
Okay.
of the few. Well, I thought the few, but apparently a lot of people pay for Discovery Plus
The
because that's where
Housewives.
all. Yeah, that's where all those shows are. But now they have their own. I'm gonna give you guys some drama on reality TV here. So originally, the way that it worked was you had the show comes out Sunday, right? Like think Last of Us. The show comes out Sunday, but if you had the app, the advertisement for having the app was that on Sunday midnight the show drops, no matter what time it comes out on TV. So a lot of people, in the memes or the meme pages and all that stuff, because yes, I'm in the meme pages, I'm in the Reddits for 90 Day Fiance. Like people would have jokes and stuff all day before it even aired on TV, because that was the perk. You pay for the app, you get to see it early. Now, because they're kind of all falling under HBO, they're doing, oh no, it comes out 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. just like on regular TV. So people are like, all right, well then what's the point of having this app now? Like I'll just DVR it because I'm probably still paying for cable.
Yeah, I that's half the issue now too. Is like 1 month like something's on a streaming network, and then the next month it jumps to something else. I did start noticing a lot of those ending up on HBO Max now. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every company wants their own streaming service. I get that. I didn't think that Discovery would have enough. I was kind of bummed when they were going off on their own, because occasionally they do have like something up there that I'd be interested in watching. But I think their issue is going to be it's so niche that it's never, if you have to choose where to put your $5 to $10 a month, that's going to rank number 12, 13, 14, 15 on your list. And that's just too hard at this point to commit that type of extra money, when there's also, like, to your point, like your YouTube channel can have a subscription, like anything can get your monthly money out. Like, like they're just lucky we don't use the apps to pay attention to it,
Yeah, for sure. And actually, speaking of that, shout out. I said shout out to Hobbies with Jose, the newest member of the Nerd Foundation. Welcome and thank you. But yeah, I mean, that's an example right there. Like, I rather subscribe to a friend's Twitch or YouTube at times than like get another app just to watch like a show. So there's got to be more to it.
I think that's where it's almost like just broker a deal with another company and just lump yourself in at that point. Like, I mean, dude, like the CW has an app. It's like I remember they were going direct to Netflix for a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really understand what happened there, but yeah, they have their own app. It's free. You don't even, like, you have like access to all of their stuff. So I don't even really know what the point of it is, because they're not monetizing. Maybe ad revenue, I guess. I don't.
Well, Disney's going to start licensing out their stuff again. Like, that's what they're going to start doing. So similar to that, like, I thought that was great. That was the first time I remember ever seeing something like that, where it was like, this was back when Arrow was like the show. Like, you had the show premiere on CW, and then I think it was the following week.
Yeah,
that's when the show, like last week's episode aired this week on the app. So so you're a week behind, but it's still, for most of us, it didn't matter. You're like, at least I'm getting the show. It was great.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, stupid me, and this is just, I'm okay with embarrassing myself. I really only downloaded the CW app to watch Walker Independence. And I'm glad that I didn't have to pay anything to torture myself with an episode and a half. Yeah. But it's Catherine McNamara was in it. She was from Arrow. I had to watch,
Of course. It's funny. The first time I heard about the CW app, I was going to watch, I was looking up, Vixen. They came out with a Vixen show at the same time that Arrow and Flash were popping off. And they were like, oh, to see Vixen, I'll pull it up. To see Vixen, you have to have the CW app. And I was like, oh, I'll check that out. And I was like, oh, you have to pay for this? Nah, I don't give that much of shit about Vixen. It was this one.
I mean, so I remember, I feel like, is that like on Netflix now maybe or something? Because like I feel like I recognize recognize although that's pretty stereotypical font, I guess, for a
Yeah.
that style of TV show.
It may even be on HBO at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't really remember it that well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think
It would make sense.
I don't know
that
anybody who
would go to
watched
the
it.
app. Yeah, I think that would make sense to go to the app though, because something like that, like, it's not going to get watched on regular TV, but I could see something like that playing on a streaming service
Yeah.
as an accompaniment to your bigger franchise.
Right. But that can't be the only thing. Like, you need to have other stuff on there to keep us there outside of here's a show to, help you out with enhance the experience.
How bad it's been for CW that they didn't get absorbed into like the Warner Brothers. I mean, maybe it's good because the universe has sucked for the most part on film, but like, I mean, they're going to be done now that the Flash's last season's coming, right? Like what is really keeping CW afloat? I'm not as tapped in as I used to be, but like they used to have every night of the week,
Are you kidding me? The hottest show of the decade is about to drop on. Are you kidding me? What shows on CW? Are you, Lenny? You're about to freaking cancel yourself here. Gotham Knights is coming out on CW. Who murdered Batman? We have to find out.
Oh no! My God!
How dare you forget? Pretty soon they're gonna absorb Pennyworth too, and then it'll be really the app to get.
Did anybody play this game?
It's not related to the game though.
Yeah, no, but Steve, like that's how do you put a game out and a show out in the same year and they're both gonna tank? Like you had such a bad pulse. That's what I don't understand. Like how did there's marketing groups, right? There are people that research how successful this stuff could be, and they couldn't find out that neither a game or a movie or a TV show would play. Like nobody's gonna watch this shit.
Yeah.
And to your point, the trailers have looked awful. Like really bad.
Yeah, I'm like, you're not even trying. You're not even trying.
And I'm a big proponent of like the first couple episodes, especially of those kinds of shows, are usually pretty cringe, right? Yeah. Like the acting's usually pretty rough. And then at some point they kind of get a chemistry with each other and figure it out a bit. But it just doesn't feel like that one's going to get it. Like it, I don't know. Didn't do it for me.
So I will shout out and plug our own channel because all of you should check out Sal's video, 5 ideas better than Pennyworth. And we should probably even change this to say like 5 ideas better than Pennyworth and Gotham Knights. Because
do you think Gotham Knights is going to be a level of like Birds of Prey, the TV show?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like I just that popped into my head, and like I didn't even really watch that show that closely. I've watched a couple of like things that have gone back and like looked at that TV series, and it feels eerily similar to what you have here.
I think it's going to do better because people, even though there's superhero fatigue, people still want to see more DC stuff. Like we don't have enough DC things. And anytime Batman's involved, potentially, people are going to check it out. Like Birds of Prey, going into it, we knew Batman wasn't going to be there, even though there was like no real internet then. It was like AOL chat rooms maybe, but like we knew it wasn't a Batman show. This one, Batman's murdered, so it's like maybe you'll watch the first episode just to see how bad it is. Where like when Birds of Prey came out, I mean, you were probably a child. I was
dude, yeah. I mean, it predates. I forget I think so. You know why I think I came across it was I went and rewatched Buffy, and I feel like that was coming on at the time, like right after Buffy or right after Angel, one of the two, and that's why it kind of crossed into my radar there. You know,
I'm trying to find when did that? 2002 is when that show came out.
I think it only lasted like 3 episodes, right? 4. It wasn't anything crazy. Oh, 13. Holy shit. I didn't know it made it that long.
Yeah.
That's
and
wild.
I mean, honestly, people forgot about the show until the crossover event when she had that running across the roof thing and then was gone. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which one does worse. But so it's funny how time flies on the show. By the way, if any of you have not done so already, Sal had put in the chat the link to For Those Good Taste. I have it down in the description. Drop a subscribe, but also thumbs up on the video. We've had, I think at one point we hit like 17 people watching, but we only have 7 thumbs up. Smash that bitch, but not really. You don't want to go to jail. So just push it.
John Jones in a hotel room.
Yeah. Oh, all right. We'll hit that. You said it. Is John Jones the new Ezra Miller? Like he's the one who cannot be canceled? Because I feel like John Jones has done everything possible, but yet here we go. Or, I mean, are you even going to go watch the fight? Like, is this going to bring you back to the UFC?
Yeah. I mean, I've been watching. I honestly 2 weeks ago, Volk versus Islam Makhachev was an amazing fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm going to definitely watch it. Did you see the tweet today or yesterday from John Jones
where he wants reparations?
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. Yeah. I want my wins back, bitch. I love that.
Blame him. I can't blame him.
Doesn't care.
Like he's just so like. I mean, I was the biggest John Jones fan ever.
Yeah,
and I'm like, God. I'm like, who was it? It was like a comedian or MMA journalist or somebody. It was somebody in MMA who was like, I want John Jones at my funeral so he could let me down one last time. Because that's all he does these days is he just lets you down. And I'm like, I can't get hyped for this fight because I'm like, is he even going to make it?
I think he's going to make it there. I think we've been, it's pretty close now. We're about a month out, a little less than that maybe. Mm-hmm. You know what video keeps coming up, Steve? Do you remember when he stopped that person who went to mug the person in like New York? The Jersey? Yeah. Dude, like, it's just crazy to go watch that. That was the night or the 2 days before he beat Shogun for the championship. This man looked like a superhero, like a literal vigilante who's also going to be the light heavyweight of the champion of the world, going to be the next coming of like the best fighter of all time. And to your point, yeah, like where we are now is not there. I don't think there's really too much of a buzz about him coming back. You know, it was like 5 years ago that it was like my next fight's going to be at heavyweight. It's just some of time's passed, but the good thing is he's in a division where you can be, you know, you can be 40. It's like Randy Couture won the belt at like 45. You know, Verdum was considered or like 5 years ago, challenging for greatest heavyweight of all time.
That's
and he was like 40. You know, because of these wins. Stipe's, you know, mid 30s. Stipe had lost to, oh my God, I can't. Stefan Struve, like 8 years ago, you know, like these guys, it's a different weight class. So I think John Jones has the intangibles. My concern is that his striking isn't great, you know, and he got hit a decent amount at times at light heavy, and Gon's probably going to put some work on him, you know. Gon's really good. If John can smother him though and fight dirty in the clinch, it could get kind of nasty for Gon, I think, though.
I mean, I think Gon's only shot is coming out hot. Yeah. And because Jones is going to, you know, John always wants to control pace and he always wants to keep his own distance, do those bullshit knee kicks that everybody hates. And I think that if you can just storm him and just throw him off slightly in the beginning, then you may have a shot. But I think that the true test with John Jones is going to be what's his cardio like now that he isn't fighting at a fighting weight of like 220 something. You know, like, I mean, for everybody who watches and maybe doesn't know, in mixed martial arts and even in boxing, in a way, you cut weight to hit the weight limit, but you're depleted. So you go into a fight usually a little bit heavier. I mean, maybe in this one, he's just not going to cut anything. He's just going to go
I don't think he's going to. I mean, I think he might just to, because I think for a lot of these guys to feel like they're in a fight a little bit, like they like to cut some weight maybe. But yeah, I can't imagine he needs to. It is funny. I think his legs are basically still the same size.
Yeah.
He essentially said like, I just can't change it. I don't know what to do. Yeah. You know, I don't think I agree with what you're saying that is a way to victory for Gon. I do think that he is such an accomplished kickboxer that if he wants to point fight with John and John can't get to close the distance and or take him down, that could play some issues, but I don't know that Gon wants to fight that fight necessarily. And then at the same time, like we saw Ngannou control him and that's not Ngannou's skill set.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I think the tough thing with John is like recency bias wise, John, even when he was fighting, his wrestling wasn't great anymore. He didn't really invest a ton into it. He was kind of fighting slow strategic fights, and he's a guy who's always wanted to take away the skill set of the other fighter. He's always wanted to go after and beat them at what they're good at, and I think that's a dangerous game to play here. I hope that at heavyweight he knows to to play it a little safer.
Yeah,
it could be a boring fight. I think it genuinely probably will be a boring fight.
I agree with that, though. That part I agree with.
Mm-hmm.
What about I agree wholeheartedly in this comment that the A-Team was a good movie and that it deserved a sequel.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean, that cast is very underrated. Like, yeah. I think even if you went back, do you know what the problem I think that hurt that is? And I think I saw something about Rampage Jackson up there. He did nothing after that point in his movie career. I even saw something with him the other day. Did you know he signed a contract with TNA to wrestle?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you don't remember
that? No, I do remember it. Do you know that he only showed up on TV once and never came back? Basically,
I don't remember that part.
And it wasn't him. He says that he was ready to go, and then they never got him training, and they just basically gave him a contract, and then nothing went and happened with it. But he wanted to do it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, that was a wild time too in mixed martial arts. That was when people were starting to be like, F the UFC, I'm going to go to TNA. Like King Mo went over there. He's like, because they're going to give me a crazy contract where I can box, I can do wrestling, I can do MMA. And people are like, really? You're going to do 3-4 things at one time? And then Rampage was like, oh, and I'm going to be an actor too. It was just fucking wild times at that point.
I mean, I guess him being an actor, there was really one role that Quentin Rampage Jackson was made to play, and he found it.
Right.
Right. And I think that's where it's a bummer that it didn't keep going, because I do think genuinely he did a good job of playing the Mr. T character. It worked well in his favor. And I'm sure when he said he was going to be an actor, it's like, well, I'm going to get at least 4 of these out of it. How can I not? I have Bradley Cooper and Liam Neeson in a movie with me. But I think that came out. How close in proximity did that come out to The Losers?
It was close. Let's see. The Losers. That's 2010. And 2010.
I think that's part of your issue, right? Yeah. It's kind of like White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen, or what's the one with fuck?
I was gonna say Prestige and Illusionist.
I was gonna say the one with Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, and it also had the Justin Timberlake Best Friends with Benefits and fuck, I can't remember the Ashton Kutcher one, but they were the same exact plot. They came out 2 days apart.
Yeah,
it was weird when that happens too.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, just to, because we have to talk about the damn sport, if some would call it that.
Yeah.
State of wrestling. I mean,
that's the guy right there.
So Sal and I both watched the Royal Rumble the other day, last month, 2 months ago. I can't remember at this point.
Yeah.
And we also watched the Elimination Chamber. And I would say the only reason I was interested in the Elimination Chamber was a tale of 2 stories. It was a tale of Sami Zayn. Actually, no, 3 stories. A third of it was Sami Zayn. A third of it was, is there going to be a redemption of the Montreal Screwjob? And then the last third was Ariel Helwani freaking promoting this damn thing. And I was like, the 3 in unison about this whole story of just Canada in general. I was like, I'm going to sit down and watch this shit. I'm going to watch just the main event. I didn't care about the rest of it, but I watched the main event. Is Sammy your guy?
Yeah, I mean, he's amazing. I wouldn't say he's my guy. I don't think I necessarily, I love him, right? I wasn't thinking he should win Deep Impact and Armageddon. I see that. That's a very good call. I wasn't sitting here thinking he was going to win personally. I don't think it really made sense. I think a year ago, Cody Rhodes is supposed to win the belt. I think when you think about Roman Reigns and what a 900 and something day title reign is, I don't think taking the belt off of him, the event before WrestleMania, is what that title run deserves. And I think Cody Rhodes is the level of prestige and star that needs to be the one to take the belt from him. I think that they stumbled across something that they never anticipated stumbling across, and now they have a bona fide babyface star that they can book, and I think we trust it versus what it was a year and a half ago with Vince McMahon that you're going to have somebody who actually cares for this guy and like keeps him at this level. He's not going to bury him just because he got himself over. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think the match was great. I think the storyline for the past year that they've put on TV is what people loved about wrestling in the 90s. Not like the fighting back to your bosses or anything like that, but this soap opera drama mixed with like, you know, a little action in there.
For those who have not been watching wrestling, do you want to give your quick promo as to, or even just history lesson? Why was the Sami Zayn match so major?
I mean, it's been going on for, like I said, near a year. So you have 900 days, the longest modern day title run. CM Punk, Cena, like that level. And
Who has it?
Now it's Roman Reigns, you know? So it's like, you put him now in the echelon with those guys. He's a guy that they have been telling you now for 5 or 6 years is the star, and he is the star now, and people have accepted that. So you can't go without saying that his stardom is what makes Sami Zayn as big as he was. But what happened was Sami Zayn just ended up one day on screen with Roman Reigns, and they had great chemistry, and they decided to stick with it. And you've had a character who's just been looking for acceptance for a year now. You know, he's just been trying to get them to accept them into his family. He's been looking for people to stand beside him and support him and like care about him, you know. And he finally got their approval. Funny enough, in Boston at Survivor Series was like the final step. He won over Jey Uso, like the one brother who was left who didn't truly seem like he believed in him yet. And you get to this point where he's finally in the group and he's accepted, but it still wasn't good enough for Roman because he started getting over to the point where he was getting more popular than Roman. And what Roman has showed the whole time is like, this is his show. And he's very like, you know, it's this level of acting that you really don't see a ton right now in wrestling. Like, I don't think there's anybody who's really doing it to his level. He has this ability to manipulate that seems very real. And it's because he's the next crossover. You know, you can mark it down now. It's not me saying it. It's just, I think it's kind of a fact at this point. Like, he is the next Rock. He is the next Cena, the next Batista. He's going to be gone full time from wrestling, I imagine, in a year or two at most, you know? But yeah, I think it's just, you have this guy on the perfect storm, and then you had a person that the fans got behind, because I don't think he's what your traditional star is either, you know, a la like a Daniel Bryan a few years back. I think Sami Zayn captured some of that stuff, and it's passion and it's real. And I think we can all see that it's real. None of it's really fake out there. Like, he was making them laugh for real. Like, the emotions that they've showed you, while it's an act, like the true stuff is showing through. And then to your point, you bring it into the hometown, you bring all these extra things, and it was special, man. I mean, you watched it. It's like Elimination Chamber, the 4 minutes without them even having to like touch each other.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen. Like that is pretty slim pickings for the amount of times that's actually happened. I think there's only one time that they said took longer for like people to touch, and it's a famous match, and I wish I could remember it right now, but it's only like 1 or 2 times that it's gone longer that you've had like a sustained ovation that they haven't had to interlock or like start the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was dope. I mean, the crowd pop when he was hitting the specials and all that was,
I felt
amazing.
bad, you know, like he said afterwards too that he felt like he let a lot of people down. And I think you look at the crowd that night, and it's going to be asked for a very, very long time. Is that the right decision that they made? Because imagine the pop that would have happened if he won. And I think a lot of people are going to question, like, could you have had him go into WrestleMania as the champion and maybe Roman wins it back? Like I said, I think that diminishes the title run.
Yeah, it does.
To just hotshot the title like that, and I'm glad they didn't do it. But I think you stole a very special moment from a large group of people that night. So it's going to be divisive.
I thought the move to make was so first of all, I want to lead off with Stone Cold made a comment one day on I don't know what show it was. Maybe it's his podcast or something. He was saying how what he doesn't like about current day wrestling is the finishing move doesn't mean anything. Like, people bust out finisher after finisher after finisher. I like in the match, he did one of Roman's with the fist thing, and then he punched him. So I like that Roman got out of that, because I'm like, well, that's not his move, so it doesn't hurt as much. But the second he landed like his big boot thing, I'm like, that would have been great. Like that moment to hit that finishing move, pin, win, like amazing. So I hate that the finishing move now doesn't really mean anything. They just do it. But what I thought would have been great, again, I'm a casual watcher from the outside who peeks in from time to time. Sammy is about to win the match. In comes Cody to be like, no, I'm the one that's the rightful one to dethrone 900 days. And he interferes and stops Sammy from winning. And then Roman wins. But otherwise, I think like Sammy should have been like coming out on top in Montreal where the screw job happened. First time a Canadian is fighting for the belt in Montreal since the screw job.
I think the problem with that is that you're at that point. I think it goes back to what I was saying before. You're really hurting the story you've been trying to tell, the bigger story. You've been
this
trying.
Guy comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's like Cody is the baby face. And I think
Yeah.
they've teetered this beautiful line the past month and a half since Cody came back at the Rumble of managing to not have the crowd turn on him because of how much they love Sammy. And that's by putting... I mean, Cody's crushed every promo he's had since he's come back. And they had this amazing face-to-face with Cody and Sami Zayn where he was in support of Sammy winning. And I think that was really important to show, like, I'm not against you. My story is not your story. And it's okay that I can win at WrestleMania. And it doesn't have to be against Roman because my story is winning the championship and winning it at WrestleMania. It's not necessarily having to beat Roman Reigns. If you're better than he is, I'll beat you. And I think that manages to toe the line to where now the reality is like the belts are unified, both the tag team and the heavyweight championships are unified. They're going to get rid of that. I think they're going to go back to having the belts defended individually. And I think the way you can get to that eventually being Sammy can have his own belt. And you don't have to have they can be on two separate shows and you can have two guys carrying ratings because they've shown the SmackDown ratings have been more consistent and strong because of Sami Zayn's role in the bloodline now for like 4 or 5 months. I mean, the WWE's been super consistent in their ratings. And I think they're kind of turning the tide a little bit. It's funny, where it was a year and a half ago with AEW versus where it's now. You saw the Tony Khan thing this weekend with Ariel, and it's I couldn't help but like I almost tweeted a few different times because watching Saturday and the way that he got owned by Michael Cole, the way the internet consistently owned him after that, it's like, dude, you're losing this war to yourself because like you dunked on yourself on Friday night. If you had never said a word, nobody really cares. Like Ariel, I think we all understood it, man. Like you and I both grew up in the 90s. You and I both grew up loving wrestling in the 90s, right? We love Stone Cold Steve Austin. You love Bret Hart. You love whoever, right? Ariel Helwani is from Montreal, Canada, and he loved Bret Hart. He was there at the screw job. Like, I think it's endearing to most of us because we would all feel the same exact way. He got an opportunity to live out a dream and you decided to make it personal and take a shot because he asked you questions you didn't like in an interview. Like, you didn't win that. I think Ariel looks a little silly too. I didn't like the referencing the cocaine thing and like, I don't know, man, like that seemed a little corny to me. I do think right now, and this is a different conversation that me and you can have, Steve, because you would actually be the perfect person for me to talk about. I do worry that Ariel's starting to feel himself a little bit too much and starting to think that he's the show. Yeah, I think he's thinking he's the show a little bit too much. And I think he's going to start to prove Dana right in some regards, because I think that's Dana's bigger point here, that even though Helwani acts like it's about the fighter, it is a little bit about him, and it's because he was maybe that guy who didn't have the shine that he wanted. Like, I don't mean to take the playbook from Dana, but I do think some of that, there's lines of truth in it. And I think you see it in the way he reacts petty with that.
Yep. I couldn't agree more, but I'm definitely down to have that conversation. Hey, maybe I invite Ariel on the show and then ask him face to face.
I would love that.
You feeling yourself too much? Who knows? Yeah. So I have to ask this question then. We're talking about wrestling before we transition out. I'm looking at this website every day. I'm not even going to bullshit you. I'm looking at this thing every single day. In case anybody doesn't know, I'm getting married this year, and I'm pretty dedicated to coming out with something off this list.
Oh my God.
So if you're by the way, 35% off sale. Usually they do 40, so I'm waiting for another 40. But if you need something right away, 35% off.
You got to catch it like right after a pay-per-view.
Yeah, they always bump it to that 40. They've never done 45, Again, I'm on the site every day. But money, no objection. What belt you going home with?
You know, I was watching yesterday. I saw a clip of when Batista chose to challenge Triple H for the belt
Mm-hmm.
back in like 2004 when he broke up from Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And I might get this wrong, but I think it was the one further up. It was like the second row down, maybe. I think it might be that one there or the one right above it. And I've always thought they looked like very, very classic, and
So the
uh,
one here in the middle, this is like your
mhm.
Shawn Michaels winning a
Total,
title,
yeah,
winning
yeah.
Eagle, yeah. And then this is Batista.
I believe that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just think that, like, the ones to the left and the ones up above it there are very corporate WWE branding. Like they're a little too much. Like they don't look like championship belts more than they
Right,
look like promotional pieces.
right.
I think both of those belts to me, like say champion, you know,
Yeah.
a bit more. So I would probably lean towards those guys there. The spinner belt, obviously, like I was a John Cena mark at some point in my life. So I do like that. The white Intercontinental Championship belt
I was
is
about to call
also,
that. Yeah.
is also it. Like that would also be a choice.
Yeah. So this has been this and the Wing Eagle are my 1 and 2 pick, because
Okay.
I just feel like there was something about the Razor Ramon era IC run, like I feel like at a certain point the IC belt was more desirable than the actual championship belt.
It's called the working man's title.
Yeah, it just felt that
and
way.
I think, I don't know how familiar you are with it right now, but it's actually been restored to prominence right now.
Oh, like isn't it like a Russian guy who has it or something?
Yeah, Gunther.
Yeah, yeah.
He's incredible. And he has been on like a run where if you want to see a great match, go watch him versus Sheamus from Clash at the Castle.
Mhm.
It's physical. You won't call that fake. You will not
Yeah.
call that match fake.
Yeah. But I this is, I mean, it's really between, for me, it is kind of between these two, like IC and then the dual play.
They both,
Wing Eagle.
similar to what I was saying, I think both of those do say wedding a bit more. Like they're both classy belts.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the white might be a nice matching piece.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. It's $100 off right there, dude. It's not bad.
And I think 35% off of this price.
Really?
I think so.
I mean, hey, that ain't bad.
I know. But
Well,
then
no, it says with code. It says with code, Steve. No.
Oh, with code.
Yeah.
I can wait a little bit. I can wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, get like another $20 off that, save the tax.
Yeah. We actually had this one at my in my store. My former manager bought the money belt, and we had just opened up the store. Anytime somebody got a sale, they got to wear the money belt for a while.
I like that, but I don't know. Like that doesn't necessarily say like championship to me.
No. Well, this wasn't a championship belt, I don't think, at the time.
No,
he just
it
wore
was like it's similar. It's like the
was a
FTW
gimmick belt.
It's like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. And then of course
Spinner US, Jesus.
Yeah. And then there was the WCW belt that I think turned into the WWE one that you saw.
WWE one, yeah, because that one's very similar. The Brahma Bill, yeah, man. They, where I'd seen it recently, and they were kind of shitting on it is like, because you see how they send it out now to everybody who wins like major championships,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the gripe with the one at the top was like that's the one they send out to everybody because it just has a huge ass WWE logo like strapped in the front of it. It's like anything that doesn't have that, I'm pretty much a fan of. I don't know who would buy that NWO one too. That's crazy.
So what I love is when people go and they get the regular heavyweight title. They'll meet a Kevin Nash, they'll meet a Hogan, and they say, "I need you to spray paint it." And then
that's cool.
Then they do that.
No, like, dude, I do not want to buy one pre-spray painted, but I would 100% have them spray paint. I would have them spray paint me. Shit.
hit you with the Sting baseball bat and then spray paint your back.
Dude, my TikTok algorithm right now, for some reason, is very much heavily like built in the construction of the NWO. I don't know why. I keep getting random Eric Bischoff interviews, like talking about it. And you know what's
I
funny?
get those on my YouTube algorithm, actually.
I had X-Pac comparing Eric Bischoff to Emperor Palpatine.
Really?
When he joined, yeah, he's like, when you think about it, he's like this guy. He's the chancellor. He's basically the good guy for the network. And then all of a sudden, he turns on him, and he's the leader of the Sith. And I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
If that's what they were thinking about when they fucking wrote this storyline, that's crazy.
There's something so special about this. Is gonna be my like old man comment of the day as we wrap up. There's something so special about the Attitude Era into WCW launching, because at that point, for all you kids out there, even though my demographic is pretty much us, but just in case, for all you kids out there, back in the day, the internet was just barely starting. And if you wanted internet, you probably had to go to your friend's house who their parents made more money. They had a whole desktop you could use, and you would go to the websites and read like all the wrestling news and all that stuff. Other than that, you had like
wrestling.com was my website. It might still be a thing. I don't know.
Which one was it?
24wrestling.com.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably. But that's all you had. There were no message boards. There were no YouTube videos or no nothing. Like, you just had whatever was there. And there was that moment in time where we were like, God, I think this is real. Like, I'm pretty damn sure this is real. And then when DX was showing up at the freaking NWO or WCW things
in the tank,
and then when Scott Hall showed up, you were like so confused. You were like, what's Razor Ramon doing here? And he's like, oh, the change is coming. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And when Hulk Hogan leg dropped fucking Macho Man, you were just like, oh my God, like, this is fucking ridiculous. And then when it was like Vince McMahon and the organization versus Stone Cold, real. I mean, it was as real as it, I mean, to the extent that like adults were like, is this real? Like, I'm not quite sure.
Really good book, if anybody has any interest in this stuff, The Rise and Fall of WCW. It's written by Brian Alvarez from Figure 4 Weekly. He does like the Melter podcast. Basically, he's on the Wrestling Observer. But it's great because it's a lot of that stuff that we loved is the downfall of WCW all at the same time. Like, that same realism and like tearing down the walls a little bit that's like scoped wrestling for us for most of our lives is the same thing that really hurt them, because at some point you start to like hurt you hurt the image of the company when you start telling everything that everything's a work. And when they start doing the poke of doom and like they used the stun gun on Goldberg, it was just like they went pretty heavy bullshit the further they got down that road, unfortunately. But it was dude, 97, 98, like you'll never top that in wrestling. No. I'm sorry, you never will.
No, and even to Sal's point, we were talking, I think there was a clip that we dropped where we talk about Over the Top and like how Sylvester Stallone essentially was DDP. He was Diamond Dallas Page. And he was like, man, talk about storytelling. Like, back when Sting went from Surfer Sting to fucking Crow Sting, like a whole like year of him just in the rafters. And you're like, as a kid, you're like, they're like, oh my God, it's Sting. And you're like, oh shit, it's Sting. And like, you didn't give a shit about Sting before that. And then all of a sudden there's this whole thing of him in the rafters, and he's this mystical creature and person, and all this stuff's happening. And you're, as a kid, you're just like, you're consuming all of it. Like,
what they do at the end of that, Steve?
He went NWO, and
they botched it. He didn't win the belt. Like, they screwed him, and I think he won the next pay-per-view after that. Because it was like everything about that was them. Every turn was them thinking they were smarter. Like Bischoff, Russo, like those guys all thought they were smarter than the fans. And that's when they did the Mick Foley shit, where they gave away the spoilers to Raw because they were trying to tell you not to bother switching over. And they told everybody this bum Mick Foley's going to win the championship. And literally everybody switched the station because they were like, oh, like Mick Foley's going to win the belt. We want to see that. Like, and they just like, it was the day the Monday Night Wars switched, was them thinking that they were smarter than everybody else.
Wow. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Have you seen Over the Top?
I have, however many years ago, of course.
Yeah.
But I have, yes.
Just making sure.
I should watch it again. I wonder what that's on.
I think like I wish that we all did this full time so we could do like a retro movie night type thing and over the top.
I don't know how feasible it is to do the movie watch alongs. You know what? I was just talking to somebody about the other day. You know, with how VR has become so popular, I think like we were talking about movie theaters earlier. I was joking around with my friends that like the Netflix app in your phone, how you used to be able to go into like a virtual movie theater in VR and watch it. I was like, dude, if I could like party up with like 10 of my friends and go into a virtual movie theater and watch, like, to your point, like you just basically go and watch like a retro movie like that. I think that is interesting, you know?
Yeah. Or even, actually, I was just thinking this. I didn't even notice that I didn't know that he put it in there. But yeah, too bad Ready to Rumble was the end of WCW. Like a watch party of Ready to Rumble.
That movie's awesome. Like that. So that's a movie I remember very well. And
I thought it was a documentary. I'm not even going to bullshit you. As a kid, I thought it was a documentary.
Because they mixed the lines. I mean, he was on TV at the time. He's winning the championship, which is also another death of WCW.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. And dude, you know what? We've talked about Dark Side of the Ring on here before.
Yeah.
Have you watched the Nick Gage one?
No.
So Nick Gage is a death match wrestler. He's the one who almost killed David Arquette.
Oh, that guy.
Yes, he's the one who almost killed David Arquette. And in the Dark Side of the Ring, it's about him getting arrested for robbing a bank. While he was on drugs. He comes back from jail. He gets popular again. They book the match with Arquette. Arquette's like, I can do the death match stuff. They go to a dinner the night before. I don't want to spoil the whole story because I think people should watch it. It's really good. But like, yeah, it's just, it goes off the rails in the match because basically like Arquette starts pussying out on the stuff. And this guy's like, oh, you want to fucking pussy out? And just goes further. Like it's like the New Jack one, basically.
I was just thinking of New Jack.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. Dude. I mean, we've talked about how great those are. That one I really enjoyed. I would go out of your way to watch that. As far as one that's like more like, you know, nobody's probably gonna watch hardcore death match wrestling. I don't enjoy it. I think it's gross. But I think that like seeing that type of thing, it's like a documentary. You know, it's really interesting.
You were the one that saw. I like how we're gonna keep going to wrestling. You're the one that saw the like bar fighting wrestling thing, right? Was that you?
Bar fighting wrestling? I don't think so.
There was somebody I know went to a wrestling event that was at a bar, and I guess there's a league that I'm gonna look it up right now.
Because I've been to like the small halls. It's kind of crazy. A lot of the guys I see on TV now are the ones that like 4 years ago, because there wasn't the TV properties available as much, like were the ones I was seeing in like a hall with like 150 people.
I don't know if this is legit as I'm like watching it. I don't know if this is it. Like, you know, I'll promote them with no paycheck, but this thing's called bar wrestling. But there's somebody I know who went to a wrestling event.
Those are legit people. Jeff Cobb, Taya Valkyrie. Those are legit wrestlers.
Oh no, this one's like in a ring. The person I'm thinking of, whoever it was, they went to a bar and like this wrestling company or whatever, they put on events in bars and essentially it's just like organized bar fights. That's how it was described to me. And I was like, this is honestly, I'm down for the gimmick.
I'm in. Dude, it's like the movie theater diners, like the ones where you have like a full table and you sit down and have dinner and watch the movie. Yeah. It's kind of like that, but it's like a wrestling match. I'd be 100% bought in on that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you're just sitting there like you're drinking. I'll pretend this is a beer, even though it's a liquid death. Like imagine you're just like drinking your beer and then wrestler just comes, grabs it, uses it against somebody else. That'd be dope.
Yeah, like I think, you know, you're a little bit more part of the show and everything. Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Yeah, you know, I'd be in. Got to see if it's touring around here.
Yeah, I'm bound for a fucking a wrestling show. I need to.
Yeah, I'll let you know when the next one. I went to Survivor Series. They're back March 6th. They're actually here. Cena's going to be on the show in like 2 weeks. Oh, wow. But yeah, no, I actually, dude, I would recommend anybody. We went to ROH in the summer. Back in the summer, we went there when it was in like Lowell or whatever. We saw FTR versus the Briscoes, their second match, the 2 out of 3 falls match.
Mhm.
Dude, I was like 4th row. It was incredible. I think anything that's indie tier wrestling or under is the type of wrestling that I would take somebody to. I don't think actually going to WWE shows is actually that fun. I generally come away disappointed most of the time because it just doesn't, like, the fan experience isn't the same. You're not able to immerse yourself the same way because it's just too big, you know?
Yeah. I said it before, but before we call it an episode, we need a new Def Jam Fight for New York.
Dude, Sal's just going to keep this show going the whole time, man. You know what's so funny, dude? So we were talking about redoing, this isn't like, I mean, I'm not giving away shit. We were talking about redoing the thumbnail for those with good taste.
Yeah.
And I was talking about doing, because I have a green screen now. And I was like, hey, like we should take like the idea of a video game cover and kind of mock that for our, thumb. And Def Jam Vendetta was one of the ones that I suggested, but there's more than 2 people that we want to add to the channel and or to the thumb, and it just didn't necessarily work for the idea. So I've got to pick a different one. But yeah, I love that game.
You're gonna have to get Sal on that cover just for that.
Yeah. I'll have, maybe he can be dude. You know who he looks like? Was it Mills Lane? Was he the ref from? Was he the ref from
Celebrity Death Match? Yeah.
I'll get him in a Mills Lane costume.
I love that. That'd be great. Dude, I mean, we could talk on the show fucking forever. But one last time before we call it an episode, as I say every week to everybody here, pause. Lenny, plug yo shit.
Yeah, we're at For Those With Good Taste on every single platform known to man. That's our YouTube there, but we are on Spotify, Hulu, fucking, we've been talking about streaming services. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that crap. Deezer, D's Nuts, if you listen to the podcast. Yeah. But yeah, we're there. You can find us at For Those With Good Taste on Instagram, at Good Taste Live on Twitter as well. Please give us a follow. We'd appreciate it. If you have not watched Beyond the Bank or the Outer Banks, like I said, season 3 drops
Outer Banks
today.
is what it's called. I keep saying
Outer Banks is a show. Our show is called Beyond the Banks. It is incredibly stupid. I will not lie to you. We have a person on location in the Outer Banks every week. If you check out the show, he is there in person. We have an on location reporter.
I love that.
It's important to the context.
As you can see, I'm behind. I watched the intro video. I started the pilot. Dante has his own. He has his own camera now.
Oh yeah. He has my camera that I'm on right now, basically. But yeah.
All right, hang on.
But he's on location.
Did I?
He's on location, dude.
Did I not at some point guess that Dante was the third man?
Okay. I need you to listen to tomorrow's podcast, Steve. I know you will. You're my most loyal listener. I know you will listen.
In the comment section every time.
I address this. I address this in tomorrow's episode. Everybody, that's your cliffhanger. I address this in tomorrow's episode.
Good.
Also, stick around to the end of tomorrow's episode because I make the most offensive joke I've made. Yeah. So stick around.
Yeah. Every so often, you guys say something. I'm just like,
oh, dude, I am. By the end of this episode, we are like, dude, what is wrong with? I don't mean to do it. It just
happens.
Yeah, it happens.
I feel you on that.
It's all for funny. It's like, it's humor, man. Like, I don't think you can cancel humor. So
it's true. I love that. I mean, I don't think I can follow anything after that. So I'll just hit the music on that. Always a pleasure. Never a chore. I love having Lenny on the show. I usually make a stupid purchase when Lenny's on the show.
I haven't done that.
But I know that 35% was going to be 40 at some point. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off.
Hold
on. I'm going to hold off. Yeah.
Rise and Fall of WCW, dude. That's the purchase. Audio.
That's the purchase there. I love that. For those good tastes, ladies and gentlemen, links are down below. Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I have all 3 down there. But again, check it out on your favorite podcast platform if you'd rather listen to it on your commute or whatever you're doing. HeyArcher Live every Thursday, 8:15-ish p.m. here on Nerd Affiliated Nerdy Coffee Monday mornings at 9. I'm trying to be 9 on the dot. So maybe sometimes it's 9:01, 9:02. But we have that show on Mondays. Anthony's Last Ronin review will be dropping soon. Stay tuned for that. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll talk to all you nerds in the next video. Peace. We're out of here.